Welcome to the DNX Show. We're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. There's two of us that host the show. My name is Todd Ryan. My co-host is Josh Reason. We love to talk about domain investing. First, say hello to my co-host. Hi, Josh. How's everything going today?
Yeah, all good, man.
Great. We got a big show. I say big show because last week we sort of did that recap, a little ICA recap. And I do have on our outline today, if you go to DNXShow.com, you can see our outline, just some of the topics we're going to cover. But really, it's an open discussion, so I let it flow. But we did do a recap last week, so this week more just focused on, how to make money in domain investing. And quickly, I'll say, I have one of the last items on our outline is, join the Internet Commerce Association. I'll bring that up probably maybe another time when more people get in here. But we had a nice call yesterday, and it's an organization for all of us. So check that out. You can always go to, like I said, DNXShow.com and look at, you'll see some of the things we're going to cover, but also some live links. I'm going to start using that more often, more frequently, and make it easier for people to click on some of the, I don't even have a link to DNX there yet. That's we're going to touch on that a couple times, but Josh, I think every week it is smart to say what's going on, any updates over at DNX. Everybody wants to know. I want them to know this is the place to come other than the Discord. The Discord's pretty on fire. So tell us what's the latest at DNX, and then also about your Discord sort of town hall that you had, or your audio Discord. It's pretty cool the other day. Tell us a little bit about both.
Yeah, all good with DNX. We're just plugging along, same as usual. Got a bunch of new things in the pipeline that we'll be releasing very soon. If you want, to get the first look at those things, those updates, or be a beta tester for DNX, then hop into our Discord. We'll probably do a kind of like a town hall meeting with everyone that's in there. I don't know, a couple times a month. We did one the other day. That was cool. Plenty of participation. We talked about some things that I wouldn't otherwise discuss publicly. They're not recorded or anything, and they won't ever be recorded. So, totally different than the DNX show. But all good.
Yeah, and it is important to know a lot of people feel comfortable when it's not recorded. So even though this is open discussion, there are things said on the Discord, whether it's typed out or talked about, and that's not secret, but more confidential, say alpha. But so it's cool, and I thought it was pretty awesome, Josh, that and I don't even use the word awesome, that you can pretty much everybody who's there can come off mute. So really, there's no limit to the number of speakers, and didn't seem to be any glitches or
I think we
anything.
lost you,
Can you hear me now?
Todd.
Yeah. How about now?
Yeah, I think we lost you, man. I can't hear you anyway. Thumbs up if you can hear Todd. Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yeah. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe touch something on my phone. I got all these couple MacBook Pros. Everything's connected together, and there's just issues, But okay, fantastic. But Josh, I was saying, so on Discord, seemed like there's less issues on Discord with audio than here on X, and plus everyone who's in the room can just come off mute, pretty much, right? So there's no limit to speakers. But what did you find out about? There was seemed like there was a limit to 25 people at first. Is it because you had video on? What do you know about
Yeah,
the?
something like that.
Yeah,
I actually need to look into that more because I've definitely been in Discord voice channels where there's been a lot more than that while someone's been on video. We have a fully boosted server as well, so I don't know. We'll see. I need to look into that. But yeah, there was some people that were trying to get in that weren't able to at one point, which was strange.
yeah. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Like I said, open discussion here, but we do have a lot of topics today. You can check out dnxshow.com and just some of the topics. But one thing I saw, I believe it was. Believe, and I've been trying to, anytime I see some stories, I give some credit and links to like DNW or domain investing, or if it's coming off of X. So you have a link on the outline that you can go check it out. I believe there was a story, and it was by Elliot over at Domain Investing. I don't know if I have a link to it, but it was about front running brokers and causing problems. Like, I guess Be Easy is a domain name that looks like, I might talk about it next week on the Law Show, that there's a UDRP, and the UDRP may have stemmed from a front running broker, front running person. I don't know if you consider him a broker, was calling an end user about a name. That end user thought they were being targeted, filed a UDRP. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know anything about the case. I have to look at Elliot's article. But Josh, have you ever run into anybody that's front running some names on your portfolio? What do you know about it? Do you think it is widespread in our space?
Yeah. It's happened to me before. Um, there are certainly a few shady characters disguised as brokers. Um, yeah, it exists.
And for everybody does. So front running basically is you don't own the name, but you're out there trying to sell it because you believe you can pick it up at a price. They're not trying to sell something they don't. Well, they are trying to sell something they don't have, but they do believe they can. Like, they might see you have it priced, and then they go ahead and try to sell it for more, and then assuming that they believe that the end user may not be able to find it in that, find it easy on the open market. That's pretty much front running, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for the
that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, and you can end up getting hit with a UDRP because somebody's front running either a name that are about to win or a name that you own.
Speaking of, so there was a case. Yeah, you might have heard Nat mention it yesterday on the Internet Commerce call, but Temco, we bring it up a lot. But anyway, so this guy lost the name Temco, Temco, because the broker had mentioned, no, we want more money for this domain name. The broker was talking with a potential buyer. He didn't know the potential
Mm.
buyer was, in fact, a company called Temco Industrial, and he said, no, we want more money for this name. There's people that could use it, like Temco Industrial, Temco Enterprises, Temco Limited. Basically, he reeled off a few names. He didn't know he mentioned one that was the person on the phone with him, the potential buyer, maybe in an email. But the point was, a UDRP panelist, a group, ruled, well, that's you're targeting. You're targeting these trademark owners. Even if it's more than one, you're targeting several trademark owners. Well, when you're looking at names, you like to know that it's 5, 10, especially 20 or 50 different companies have that name in their in their company name, and may even have it trademarked. So, how do you feel about knowing it? It's one thing to buy a domain when there's just one company that's ever used that name, but now with panelists saying, targeting a whole group of companies, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean the Temco the Temco case is an interesting one. You know, for me, a name like Temco is used by so many companies. There's so much usage, right? I mean, if you go to LinkedIn, there's 100 different companies that are using the brand Temco. Um, so for any on an inbound query for a panelist to determine that, this particular inquirer has rights to the name ahead of, any other one of those 100 companies using that brand, seems far-fetched to me. I don't know what you think.
It's bad for it's bad for domain investors, but it was a bad decision. Anybody, even I'm on a call after reason why we go 2 hours here every Thursday is because on Thursdays at noon my time I have a call with a bunch of lawyers and panelists, and all the all the top guys when they decide they want to show up, and the only two people that aren't lawyers are me and Nat, and we're the two smartest guys in the room usually. But the point is, most of the panelists privately agree. They don't like to say publicly all the time and make comments about other people's decisions, but it was a bad decision. And as we mentioned, I always get from, I'd say, the godfather of domain name law, uh, Gerald Levine. He always brought up to me a long time ago about these decisions by UDRP panelists have really helped develop the aftermarket because they have over the years agreed that domain investing is legitimate, and that's very important. Early on, it wasn't legitimate. There's no such thing. No one used it as a defense. When people first started using it as a defense, no, it was really unheard of. Now it's very common. People say, not only do I own names, like you, Josh, you would say in most cases, here's similar names I have to the one you're going after, especially when it's these finance names or AI names, or we're going to talk about some keywords, but the people that are popular in domain names, and certainly it's a pretty big deal. Panelists helped, especially the first generation of panelists helped develop the aftermarket. They they basically, it was a benefit to domain owners. There's still cases where there's bad decisions, and this Temco decision is really bad. It's basically, like I said, they're saying, okay, so you're targeting a word because it's used by several trademark owners. Well, we need to just be honest and say, absolutely, we're targeting the word. Not it's because several people could use it legitimately, and there's also a great chance that there's a future company entity that will want to use it because these other 40 are already using it, these other 20, or even these other 10. I used to make the argument all the time, Josh, with the lawyers saying, so if there's one person with a trademark, that's not good, but what about two? What if there's five? What if there's 10? And they, it depends. Everything in law depends. But yeah, so it was a bad decision, the Temco decision, and they are going to court to they filed, we haven't heard the response yet, but the domain owner, who's a domain investor, has filed a case to get the name back. He first you file within 10 days of your bad decision so you can get a stay, which means so it's not transferred to that person, that the complainant who won, and then now we'll have the courts decide if there really was a case of cyber squatting, if that domain owner has rights to that name. Looks pretty strong for that guy. I wanted to mention, it was nice to see Nathan here. Nice to see Chad, too. Nice to see Arif, Darcy, a lot of folks in the crowd. It's fantastic seeing a lot of the folks here. Hey, but I wanted to say Nathan was going to join us here in a little bit to tell us about basically a lot of activity in the aftermarket. And Josh, that's where I wanted to go right now, is one of the things on our outline. If anybody wants to check it out, DNXshow.com, was purchasing in the aftermarket. So outside, Josh, first I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'll say hi to Nathan, and we'll talk with him about. So purchasing in the aftermarket, I know you use a tool like DNX. You created it. You can see names that are listed at GoDaddy, at Cedo, and at Atom, at DNX, and I know all of them really GoDaddy, and I know Atom's trying to build a network. Purchasing in the aftermarket, how has it changed? I guess what I'm saying, in addition to DNX, where do you go to purchase in the aftermarket? What different drop catch services, if any? Where do you go in addition to DNX to look for names in the aftermarket?
Um, well, GoDaddy expired auctions, Namecheap auctions, Dynadot, um, the drops, drop catch. My favorite of probably all of them would be Snap Names or NameJet. Basically, the names that are expiring from Network Solutions and their partner registrars. I think a lot of the best inventory comes through there. Um, but I don't personally spend any time in any of that. I probably haven't for a while, maybe a year. Occasionally you'll see me in an auction, but it's very, very rare these days. It's just not an optimal way for me to acquire names. I think if I was trying to scale my portfolio still, I would be in there. Um, but for me last year, most of what I did was aftermarket purchases, basically using DNX, private acquisitions, and hand registrations.
Do you ever use? I mean, speaking of, there's no really such thing as a domain marketplace. I know there is domain market that Mike Mann has. I know huge domains, but there's not like a place where it's huge domains. I consider really some of their pricing pretty reasonable, so it's almost high wholesale, if you will, if you're somebody who is
Yeah.
But so do you use those marketplaces at all? Huge domains, domain market, anything?
Yeah, I mean, all of the huge domains inventory is on DNX, so um, that's how I would just find it through DNX.
I forgot that. I mean, I forgot that now huge domains. So that's fucking fantastic. I mean, how many, considering, because there's so many names at GoDaddy, can you give us a brief breakdown? Then I'm going to talk with Nathan about
Yeah,
what's
I
going
mean,
on in the bus.
honestly, on that topic, just I'll bring it up just because I know Darcy has asked me about this before. Cody has probably asked me about this before as well. Um, in regards to buy domains and huge domains, all of their inventory is on DNX. Um, for huge domains, they won't offer any discounts, so don't even bother making an offer. They're more likely to raise the price if you do so. But for buy domains, inventory, if you make an offer through us, we will 100% get you a discount. Most of the time, it will be a pretty decent sized discount as well.
And tell us quickly, how do you make an offer through DNX? So is it, I've never done it. I just used to buy it now the time I bought one through DNX. So how do you make an offer on a name through DNX?
If there's an option on the listing to make offer, you can just click it and make an offer. Simple as that, really.
And you can will assist with that. I mean, that's what I'm more interested in. So I can understand that if I made an offer and it went directly to that platform, but how do you get involved?
Well, it does go directly to that platform. We work with a particularly with After Nick and Atom, both of those, we work with a dedicated partner sales team. Um, and then, they work that deal for us and communicate back and forth, communicate with DNX, and uh, we get a lot of deals done that way. The partner sales channel at GoDaddy specifically is very, very good. Um, I'm in constant contact with them on a lot of deals on a daily basis. Um, Atom is also very good. They have a lot less inventory, so we do a lot less deals with Atom, but we just did one today for $7,500. It was listed at 12. Um, yeah, super efficient. Typically work with Zach on those deals, and most of you know Zach, and who's one of the top brokers at Atom. Um, and Cedo typically won't have a make offer option on the listings, so most of those are just buy it now.
Yeah, Zach. You're talking about the Zach that was at the ICA meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool guy. I mean, I really like Zach. Hope to do some business with him myself. I'm gonna. Anyway, Nathan, we missed you at the ICA. Certainly did. Thanks for joining us. It's Friday morning where he's at right now down under. But Nathan, tell us.
Is.
Yeah, I know it's really early there, but thanks for jumping on here because you always talk about activity. The above marketplace, what's going on with, what keywords selling, but really what's selling, what activity you have. But welcome and thanks for joining us. Tell us what's going on.
Hey man, yeah, lots going on in our world at the moment. So seeing a fair bit of movement. There's been quite a few strategic partnerships that we've entered into, which is driving more sales. It's great to see. We officially tooled up on Monday. I've just added another senior broker to the team. He's actually on this call, Kay, I believe. So Kay was at Dynadot and previously been at Uni Registry, has joined the team. Kiriako, one of the listeners on this call. So yeah, so super excited. Encouraged him to jump on this call to come and say hello to everyone.
Well, that's great. And I
Very
know
cool.
Jeremiah joined Trillion, but I mean, that's great. One,
He did.
just to know that, adding to the team, I'm going to invite Kree up here right now. It's very nice. And sounds like he's got a great history as a broker or in the domain space.
Guys, pleasure to be here.
Great, thanks. So tell us, where were you before above? I mean, tell us a little bit about your background, and then, go ahead and plug yourself. And why should people reach out to you, over at above now to
Yeah.
help sell their names?
Bit of my background, started off at Uni Registry back in 2017. Most recent, I was with Dynadot past nearly 2 years, and now moved over to Above and Beyond.
Pretty smooth. Yeah. So you've been. It's like that. Me in the brokerage business. You've been to all the places, and I'm sure you got good experience. It's a great setup over there at Dynadot too. But um, Josh, I had some questions for Nathan. But have you done any business with Above with your names in the past?
No, I've tried to buy a couple of names before. I think I bought one, but it wasn't delivered for one reason or another. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them a lot, and I've spoken to Nathan multiple times in the past, but I don't think I've ever bought or sold any names through them yet.
There's a lot
Well, I
of.
was just about to say, well, why don't we schedule a call next week and have a chat and see what we can do to maybe change that.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
And you know what? I mean, with Josh, before I get this question to Nathan, so how many, when you go to DNX and now you can see buy domains, huge domains, Cedo, GoDaddy, and Atom, how many names is that? Because GoDaddy, I don't know. I know huge domains, what, 3 million, 4 million? I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
GoDaddy have
how many names
120.
do
Yeah, is it?
how many names do we have on DNX?
Yeah, I mean, when you put all those platforms together, is it 50 million names? Because GoDaddy has 40 million. I have no idea.
No,
Okay.
it's not that many. It's about 25 million.
Okay, but Nathan, so how many names are at above on Above Marketplace?
Because don't forget that like most of the stuff that's on Aceto is also on GoDaddy, so there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, but I was thinking, do we get
The long and the short of
Yeah,
the answer, Todd, is I actually don't know. I know that because it changes, it changes every day, but I would suspect that we've probably got close to between 1 and 2 million names.
and you guys were always known for some of the parking, but people just can't help but keep saying it over and over. Parking is gone, but people are revamping. I know at Park Logic down there where you're at, Nathan, trying to, adjust, and I don't know how to maneuver that whole business, but parking has been gone for me, but I don't have names that are great parking names, I guess. But Nathan, what about parking? What's Above doing to, maintain parking revenue for its customers?
So yeah, that's a really, really good question. So there's two parts to obviously parking these days. One is we've always had our own direct to advertiser model. So we have brands that come to us and actually acquire the traffic directly. So you could say in essence that is similar to like Google AdWords, where their brands are buying keyword related traffic. We have that direct. So we have a lot of agencies and brands that will come direct and buy it from us. Then we launch our RSOC product that's been in the making for a little while. So we're expecting to launch that in the next week or two. So watch this space. There'll be a lot of noise when we launch.
Well, I know domain investors are like, they may not want to put all their names, change all the servers, do above, or give you the whole thing. Can domain investors reach out to you and Kyriako and say, hey, here's maybe a list of names. Maybe I'll share all my names. Maybe I'll just give you a list of 100 to look at, or even just 5. But the point is to send you a list, and then so we all want to know, are any of these names that you believe you can move? Some things are more, as they say, in your wheelhouse, or more in a niche that you feel comfortable taking on names. But is that something that you guys do? Both of you will take lists from domain investors and then let them know?
Yes, the long and short of it, yes. If they're quality, you could say.
Right, because you guys could start getting all sorts of crap. Well, let's get to the nuts and
every
bolts.
every day we get emails, like people asking us to take on names.
Well,
Very, very seldom take a lot of them on, but when there's quality, we're keen.
Well, so in 2025, I want to hear, and also this first month of this year, from you and from Kyriako, what were some of the sales that you had that you helped, you participated in as a broker? And also, basically, because I'm looking for the keywords, what were some of the most notable things that you moved in the last 12 months?
So from my side, the best I can disclose, because fortunately or unfortunately with Dynadot or past companies that I've worked with, a couple companies that I've worked with, domain sell under disclosure. What I can say is oneword.ai's, threeletter.coms, etc. was the best deals I got last year that kept me float.
Thanks. Yeah, we're going to talk about threeletter.coms. Josh, I know you made some comments. There's a wide range of basically different types of threeletter.coms. We all know that. But Nathan, what were some of the highlights the last 12 months for you?
Oh, there's been a lot of highlights. I can say one name that I moved in January. I won't reveal the price, but I participated in the sale of loveme.com, which was a decent sale. So LUVME.com. That was a nice one. I did a deal in December.ai, which I expect to be able to announce in the coming weeks. I'm just waiting for them to let me know. I was on a call with them the other day, and they asked me to announce it, but they've asked me to wait till their site's up and running. So that's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, quite a few 3Ls. Sold quite a few. The bigger stuff can't really disclose because majority of it's in the NDA. But yeah, I sold quite a few 3 letters this year, which was great. And a few .ais.
Yeah, we're going to talk about using AI. And Josh, I have a question for you right now. And also, anyone else wants to join us on stage, Nathan Kyriako are here and I was going to say you guys can certainly chime in about these topics coming up. You can see what we're going to cover, DNXshow.com, or some of the topics we're going to cover. But first, since they mentioned the three-letter, Josh, there was a conversation about which would you rather have, a one-word.ai or a three-letter.com. Focusing on three-letter.coms, how do you feel about those? I know you've brought it up before, but how do you feel about those as a store of value? I always hear Drew talk about that, Drew Rosner, that it's a store of value sometimes, but how do you feel about buying these three-letter.com, random three-letter for, a good price, but are they worth it? Do you have to hold? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, just like any three-letter, I would say that some are pretty worthless and basically only work as a mild, not a very good store of value. And the good ones are extremely valuable. Um, I don't have a large three-letter.com portfolio. In fact, I think I maybe only have one three-letter.com now. I've owned a lot in the past, but um, unless they are very strong letters, they don't sell particularly well relative to other names in that price range at like a wholesale level. So like, one word.coms or like strong one word.ais, strong two word.coms. Um, those obviously get a lot more interest. But in the last 6 months or so, I've sold a lot of three-letter.ais, and the same principles apply. You know, I had a bunch of three-letter.ais that I registered that were taken in, let's say, like 100 plus TLDs, like maybe like 100 to, I don't know, 175 or so. And, get zero interest in those at a retail level, to be honest. But the three-letter.ais that I own that were registered in, let's say, 175 plus TLDs, um, and TLDs is just one metric, but for the purpose of this conversation, we'll use it. But those have been selling like hotcakes for me. Um, and yeah, the same thing applies with three-letter.coms. The best investors in the world that own a lot of three-letter.coms, they're very high quality three-letter.coms, and they sell pretty well. But they'll tell you, like, if the letters aren't good, there's almost zero interest at retail. So then you're just holding this fairly liquid block, which isn't the worst thing in the world either. But I think there's better places to park your money.
Nathan, Kyrie, how you feel about the three-letter, the same thing? It obviously depends on the letters. What success have you had when it's just a random, you know, not great three-letter with a Q or a J, Um,
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough sells. Like generally, I found myself the three that they're not great, but they're average 3L.com. I've sold quite a few for between, you say 20 to say 50 grand, more at the wholesale level. They're very hard to sell at a retail level. I've sold a handful of three-letter.ais. I found from my experience on those particular ones, they were quite a tough sell. So the sales cycle on them were quite long. But decent money on them when we got them over the line. But like I look after some really really nice like three L words. .com. So the retail asking price is significant. So I expect the hold on a lot of them to be quite substantial.
hmm, yeah, I, Kyrie, you want to say anything? You ever mess with over the years three
Yeah,
letter?
I just wanted to say, I agree with Josh, regards like maybe not the greatest store of value depending on the letters, but then I have seen a case, or well, just one case actually. I've seen just one case where there was a random, probably the worst three-letter.com I've ever seen in my life, with QX or something like that, and a random company in China pops up and it suits them. It's their perfect three-letter for them, and they have the money to buy it, and it sells in six figures, for example. So there are some crazy cases out there like that. Um, but yeah, in general, I kind of agree with Josh and Nathan here.
If you have a good cost basis for them and you're not in a rush to sell, of course, yeah, hold on, because around the world, different letters mean different things. And Josh has been saying Q is the new something. I don't know, it's the new X. And right, you wait around long enough, sometimes letters become popular. But I know firsthand, had a lot of worthless four-letter domains. And then, of course, for those that have been around 2016, 2017, if you had any three-letter or four-letter that didn't have a vowel or a V, you really had a nice floor there of a couple grand for the four letter. And now those are on a floor of about $100. Okay, so Josh, I think a lot of folks in the crowd may have an opinion on this next topic, and I really like it. I really like the idea of using AI to help select names, whether it's registering or finding them in the aftermarket. The tools are getting better to be able to say, yes, this is available, and it in fact is available, or they found it in the aftermarket, and they'll say, we found it over here for this price. I'm hoping AI really starts combing through all the things you have at DNX. Seems like it would be a benefit to um, DNX. But Josh, what do you think about? I really like what Adam's doing with the domain hunter. I mean, I like it. Some people think no. My Arif, as a matter of fact, he might join us on stage, talks about likes to put the human touch to it, and I'm like, we know AI is not new anymore, but it can do anything a human can do. So it can put the human touch to it, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on these AI tools to help find domain names?
Yeah, I think that AI will be an important tool for um, finding domain names, particularly at the end user level. I'm not fully convinced at the at the wholesale or investor level. I think that there's probably a place for it, but investors, I think we're pretty particular, and we've got, I don't know, I would say like each person has like a particular process. So I don't think we're quite there yet, but I've heard a lot of great things about Adam's new tool, the Domain Hunter. I think for like brandable type stuff and lower value names, particularly, it's probably going to be a lot more useful. Because some of the metrics that you use to filter names are not necessarily easy to get, and AI can probably do a little bit better of a job at um, identifying some brandable stuff that is hard to filter out. But yeah, I do think the more interesting part of AI with search and discovery is at the end user level, and that's something that um, I talked a little bit about in the roundtable town hall on the DNX Discord the other day. Anyone who's in that Discord, very soon we're going to release uh, a product called Magic Search, which will be on desktop, and it will also have its own app. And the essentially the goal behind it is to put a more more consumer friendly product out there. It's basically going to look a lot like the experience that you would have on ChatGPT, but let's call it like the domain market version of that. So as the conversation develops with AI, it's going to get a better idea of what you're looking for and the budget, and will suggest names based on, the 25 million plus catalog that we have available to us. So pretty excited about that. It's more of a long-term vision than an immediate vision, and it's, like I said, more end user focused than it is investor focused. But yeah, I certainly think that AI has a place in the future of domain search.
Which means place in domain investing. Nathan, what do you think? I have some thoughts. I think it's helpful to the domain investors to find wholesale stuff, and I think a lot has to do with the prompts that you're using. And wait till you feed it your portfolio, and then you feed it your sales, and you show, here's what's worked for me. And of course, the AI can also say, here's what we're predicting future wise. But I really think it can. I mean, it's really going to have a big impact on domain investors, the ones who really use it the appropriate way or the proper way. Nathan, what do you think using AI tools?
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. So we've got a lot of AI tools obviously already embedded in our business in different parts and doing different things. So we've been long-term users of it. I think, yeah, definitely from a wholesale and, as Josh touched on, from a retail end user use point to help correlate, potential lists and potential acquisitions and help you find names that, yeah, that you could acquire or acquire to sell or acquire to rebrand. I think that's really really powerful, because the biggest thing, right, for an end user is time. So the time to find what you're looking for, or potentially they're looking for something but they don't know what it is. So if they can use a product or a service to help them, you could say, limit the amount of time that they actually have to spend on it. That's really, really powerful.
Well, Arif, thanks for joining us. Arif, do you think if you told an AI, say you spent a lot of time, I don't mean one prompt, but you spent a lot of time with it saying, here's exactly how I've worked in the last several years. Here's how I've become a successful domain investor. Here's my portfolio. Here's the type of names I'm looking for. Here's where I've found them in the past. Basically, you're really just giving this assistant of yours who's super powerful and maybe even smarter than you possibly, that all the great prompts and all the great data, and then you let it do what it does. So are you a believer that the AI tools can help you with your domain search, your domain investing?
Here's the thing. I think certainly it could help. Would it find the domains, like when I'm looking through the list manually, analog, I call it, type of thing? Would it find all the names I find that other people don't? I don't think we're there yet. And I think we're pretty far away from that. I think that's like, I don't use expireddomains.net, right? Simply because, when I'm in a buying mode, I just go through the list and I go deeper than most people, and I find stuff that fall through the cracks. And it's not because they're necessarily more valuable or not. Obviously, the more valuable ones tend to rise to the top, and many people bid on them. So it's not all of them, but I don't need to get all of them, right? I just need to find a handful here and there that have really good value, that don't necessarily have keywords that people are automatically looking for, right? Just because a lot of times good two-word.coms don't always have super strong keywords. It's because of the two words that come together, there's value there, right? Or like my phrase domains and stuff like that. Those things are very hard to find, with different keywords. Now, could it happen one day? I think maybe, but at this point in time, I'm very happy everyone using the same tools, because it just means that I'll still find the ones that just fall through the cracks. It's not all of them, right? And with AI, that number will likely go down, right? So there is usage, there is advantages for AI. I think it'll find more than somebody in the past with just some really good extensive keyword lists that they're searching for. And I think AI could do better than that even today, but it's going to miss a bunch. And that's where my advantage is, right? That's where a lot of people, in this industry, like we can all be profitable together because we all have our own niches that other people don't necessarily look for. And for me, it's also just depth, right? If every people is only spending like 20 minutes or 30 minutes looking through lists, well, and I spend 2 hours, I'm going to find a bunch of stuff, and that's how I built my portfolio. So it's I don't think we're quite there yet to answer your question, but it's certainly not like all or nothing, right? There's certainly can help quite a bit.
Yeah, well, Eric, you say everyone using the same tools, but like I said, it's all about the prompts. So we could be using the same tool, but who uses these tools correctly? So it is different. It's like you think, oh, you guys are all using whether it's Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT, and you're like, no, but they can't do what I can do. It can just not only the time saving, but I'm just a big believer that once you give it all the information that it needs, it can go to those same resources, those same places where you pick up names and bring them to your attention, even the ones that you believe slip through the cracks anyway. I just believe it's about the prompts. It's not about the tools as much.
I agree. I just, to answer your question very, very simply, then I guess I don't think AI is quite there yet where it'll find all the domains that I would otherwise find myself. Now, I think the number of domains is certainly increasing. Like the percentage of names that I usually find uniquely compared to other people, that number is going to go down, but not to zero anytime soon. There'll still be tons of names out there that AI, I don't think, will have the scope to find. But who knows? One day, we'll see.
Well, we're going to talk about how AI can help sell domain names here in a second. Raghu, thanks for joining us. What's going on with you?
Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you guys are. Again, just joined it, and I got my attention just asking Arif a question. For all respectfully, I want to say that, Todd, you're asking a wrong guy, man, about this question about AI. Okay, the guy who buying a name from and Arif, I'm just joking. Okay, try to change.
All good. Discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're talking to the guy who only looking at the closeouts, okay? Yeah, the AI is for rich people who want to spend money. So I'm the one of that type of guy. So I am actually working on from last 2 weeks to figure it out about open claw, which is new talk of the town is. Probably you guys already know about it. I am so excited about it. People talking about security, people talking about your personal credentials and all that. Todd, you know what? It is all up to you how your nature of your business is. So I can put this, and I'm sure you guys going to laugh at me, and I know people in the audience will laugh at me. I know people, you'll see some icons coming up laughing. So let me say my 2 cents because I'm so excited about this new concept which OpenClaw just came out with. Okay, so I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but guess what, man? I can call myself now. I understand AI, how things works, and I am better than this coders in that case. Now, what I want to bring small talk was when I'm trying to put this AI concept with my domain business. It's so easy. It's not only the domain you want to buy or you think what you like or the keywords. Fine, you can do that. You can pick your own what type of shirt you want to wear it, color and size. Fine, you do that. It's a personal choice or whatever you want to say it. How you pursue your portfolio, that's fine. But once you have that portfolio, now what you're going to do next? And that's the real work is. How do you approach the buyer? How do you market your domains? How you price your domains? And and how do you manage your portfolio like renewals and whatever the cost involved of managing your portfolio? All you can spare your time and efforts by training a personal agent. And this is what I am chasing right now. And I am almost going to report back in a month or so. I will be able to do this. And that will give me a break to do things which is my hobbies or playing music and all that. And while what I was doing manually, I will able to get that done by AI.
Yep.
And if you think hard, you can do all that with a little bit spending time right now to understand, and boom, it's done. Like everybody use the laptop and they think they're secure. Everybody use their phone and you
Right. We
think this is
know.
secure
Okay. No,
because,
enough at the
yeah.
run on. Let me say something here. Ragu, definitely AI agents can manage your financial portfolio, I believe. Okay. So they can certainly manage your a domain portfolio, help you buy, help you sell, help you manage. I believe that. Now, I know a lot of people in here, no, it's too hard. I'm like, fucking, it's not too hard. It's going to be able to help you buy, it's going to be able to help you sell, and not just come up with what's an email I can send to this. Help me find 5 companies that could use this domain and come up with an email. No, I'm talking about selling the fucking names. But Josh, I wanted to get with you. You know, I look at it differently. I think that AI can say, hey, here's some new trends that are coming up. So here are some keywords, some domain names that you may want to consider registering. That's what I'm interested in, finding new things that may be a trend, to be able to register. Not like Ragu said, it's for rich people to, buy names, expensive names on the aftermarket. But Josh, you said you believe it is more for end users to find names. Sort of expand on that a little bit. Why do you think AI, how would it help the end user find names in the aftermarket? And then we're going to transition to how can AI help us sell these names?
Well, to put it simply, can you hear me?
Yes.
To put it simply, end users just don't know how to browse the market like we do. Even what we think is fairly straightforward, they have no idea about. So, like, if we're at a level 10, they're at like most, even what they would think as being savvy buyers are at like a level 2. Um, so AI would simply just make it easier for them. Probably help them not overpay for bad names as well. There's a lot of things that it could do to help them out.
Okay, getting
Yeah,
to go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you're talking about, when I'm talking about how I use or I would or wouldn't use AI, I don't think it would be find everything that I find, but it's because my type of stuff is quite different than other people necessarily in this room, right? Like, certainly the most obvious names, more expensive names, I think AI would have a much easier time finding, right? Like if you're looking for, domains that you usually buy in the high 4 figures or into 5 figures and 6 figures at wholesale, yeah, AI is going to find that easily, right? Because those names are quite obvious. What I'm talking about, for me, that's not what I do, right? I go in the trenches, bread and butter stuff, 2 words, and they don't, not always obviously each of those words are necessarily high on anybody's list, but you put them together and there's synergy and there's value, right? So it's really, I want to be careful, because like when I say, oh, I don't use AI, it's just me personally. Plus, I just haven't gone around to starting with it yet, right? But at the same time, like, I think it certainly could be quite useful to certain people depending on what they're looking for, right? But I do still think, though, that AI is not quite there yet where it will fully understand the value of domains, because domains are just very unique, right? Everyone's is quite different. Like before, you're talking about the 3ls.com, but the reality is the value of a 3l.com, there's a very, very wide spectrum. Like back in the days when we used to talk about the 4ls, right? I don't like calling anything 4l because there's no such category, really. I mean, there is technically, but the value of them, the spectrum, the stuff at the bottom, the stuff at the top, are so far apart that, yeah, I don't know. Can AI catch that these days? Maybe, but every time, I don't think so. We're not there yet.
Todd, I wanted to just comment on what Josh said. Okay, Josh said we are head of end users. Yes, we are, as a manually what we've been doing for years. But now the gap is very close between end user and people like us. Okay, what I mean by that is, now, since this AI is playing a big role in every field, um, so that gap going to become very narrow between end user. Even you, I call myself end user when I don't have a domain name I'm looking for, isn't it? Like if I'm looking for some concept and I'm looking for a domain name, I'm as good as an end user. I'm even though I'm doing this domain name for years. right? Because I don't know how do I get this domain name. Now, keep the money part on the side because it's no concrete solution, the value of the domain name, as we all know that. You cannot say that apple.com is worth $1 billion or $2 billion or $10 billion or $1 trillion. It is all up to the owners, right? So keep that valuation part, what's the value of the domain is going to be, is always going to be like this. It is buyers' eyes, how they look at the domain name, how they're looking at their pockets and affordability and what comes out of it, the profit and all that. Like, for example, investors get money, um, VCs are investing money and they're using that money to buy a domain name. They're not using a brain, they're using a money. So I understand that. But with the gap between the end user and experts are becoming narrow and narrow every day because AI is learning. I remember ChatGPT when I was starting in the beginning last year or a couple years ago with a ChatGPT asking a question about domain. It was confused. But today, it learned so much in last couple of years of this domaining, matter of fact. It is amazing answers I get now with the same prompt. I didn't change my prompt, but now I get a better answer and is improving daily basis. So, uh, so the gap is almost very narrow between end user. End user became smarter, and I thanks to AI helping, where domaining was a mystery how things works. But now, if a young person
I don't know how we got that lucky. I do not know.
so
Right.
But I just want to
yeah,
comment on that because that's our biggest issue, right? People say, well, what features and what registrars and other things is we want? It's not really. Though everything is inconsequential compared to the two major things we need in this industry is education for end users and visibility for our names, right? Those are the two main things that aren't necessarily technical that we do need overall. And that's the thing. AI, in theory, it could help educate, but again, the fear that I have is look at not to pick on GoDaddy, but like GoDaddy value, right? So if the data sets that the AI takes is mostly wholesale sales and information on and data on sales that aren't necessarily optimal, then it could hurt us, right? But the opposite could be true as well, right? If the AIs feed off of like the top 100 sales of all time and stuff like that, then it could be to our advantage. And so is it good or is it not? AI ends up being a tool. I hope it will help us, but that's our biggest issue is that buyers usually we can't pre-educate them years before they do that, right? Most buyers, they start to want to educate themselves in domains when they're ready to start their business, their startup or whatever it is, right? And so that's
Okay,
where
for
the
hold on,
danger
Arif.
zone.
For anybody who spends time with AI, please join us on stage. If you spend time with AI, Arif doesn't even use it. But the point is, Arif, the thing that strikes me is, first of all, AI, when I think of using an AI agent, I think of it's somebody very smart. You act like they might not consider this. If you've considered it, it's considered it, okay? And I mean, I'm saying it's already. I know everybody when the very first day it came out, it had room to grow. Now it's bypassed most what any humans can do, and it's going to just keep getting better and better. And the thing is about, I wonder if it's going to just consider the wholesale. I wonder if it's going to consider the end. It's going to consider all that. It's like all of our brains in this room, okay? It's going to be all of them, and it's going to cancel out some of the morons in here. I see if you. The point is, AI it's like your smartest friend. It knows it knows, like I said, collectively what a lot of us know together. So it's not missing out. It's considering all that stuff. It's considering. We know this is a wholesale platform. We know this was a retail sale. Like I said, it's considering all this different data. If you're, like I said, if you spend time with AI, please come on up and let us know how you've used it for in your domain investing, but really just how you use it in business and your thoughts on how it can relate to domain investing. I guess first I'll ask you, Josh, and then I see Samit's joining us. Josh, when it comes to just one feature, and before we get to have AI helping us sell names, when it helps find names, what would be the dream, like I guess prompt, or you're working on a tool, but that you want AI to help you find? For me, I said it's basically, okay, what is next? What's coming next that I can go ahead and go out there and register, and then maybe have some success selling some of these hand registered names in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. So I'm looking for that type of, I guess, simple stuff. What are trends? What are good, and what are available names with respect to that trends that I can register? What type of, feature would you want out of an AI tool that helps you hunt names?
I think for me personally, I'm not the right person to ask on this, and I don't wish to sound I don't know, I guess cocky, but I don't think AI is going to outperform me in predicting which names are going to get hot, the market in general, or identifying names that are good today. And I'm not saying that's the case for everyone, but I just don't think that AI could help me personally much. It might be able to assist in me analyzing data that I feed it, and I absolutely use it for those kind of things today already. But just prompting it to tell me something based on me providing zero knowledge, yeah, I mean, I'm not that bullish on that per se, which is why I say that I'm much more bullish on the use of AI for like end user appeal. Yeah, I mean, would it be great if AI could help you identify trends as they come? Sure. I think that it could probably help do that to some degree. But yeah, at the end of the day, for us, it's not, AI shouldn't be making any decisions for you. It should just be helping you analyze data, or maybe pick up on things that you can research at a deeper level. And these things, it already exists today. All of that. I mean, just use the most basic version of ChatGPT, and it can certainly speed up your processes and help you analyze things. But it's not going to give you it's not gonna think about the future for you, and if it is thinking about the future for you, it's not necessarily correct. So I would avoid
Yeah.
that kind of use.
We're going to see if Sama and Mike Gaffney coming on stage, if they agree with you. I don't agree, and it's like, I hope Mike's Cyger Snippets, scans through this thing and catches you saying, I don't think AI can help me. I mean,
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
Hey,
It's
Todd,
on
Todd,
the
you
podcast.
know,
Hold
these
on.
guys,
We'll get it.
Hold on
We'll
a
get it on the
second.
replay.
I'm not done. Stop.
Go ahead.
When did I say that AI can't help me?
I
Because
don't
I'm
know.
pretty
I'm
sure I
gonna
said
say
the
no.
exact
I'm going to
opposite.
say probably about, I don't know, 35
No,
seconds ago. By
you
listening
just
to
said
this,
it.
go back about 35 seconds.
What did I say, Ragu? I said what? AI can't help me.
I don't think AI can help me.
Yeah, you just said it. I heard it too.
Oof, you guys are very
No.
selective hearing.
Wait a
You
minute.
must
Wait a
be.
minute.
You must
No,
be.
no.
You guys must.
No,
You must. You guys must be.
listen. It's
I
okay.
see your.
It's
I
okay.
said.
But I understand.
Whoa. Well, I'm not gonna listen. I'm actually gonna boot you off if you don't let me talk. I see you type of guys a lot that take a small little piece of what I said and then want to snippet it, and I don't like that. Just for what it's worth.
Yeah, but we're not
So
listening or compromising what you're saying. We're not. Simple as that. It
no,
doesn't matter.
no. I'm just saying. I see that playbook a lot, out there outside of the domain world, and I don't like it.
Right. No, and I
So
see
let's be
that
careful.
what you're but the point is I wanted to bring up, you did mention it in general about how you don't believe AI is going to benefit you as a domain investor. I'm going to see if Summit feels the same way, if Mike feels the same way. It sounds
Yeah,
like
but
most
he
people
didn't
feel
even
the
say
same
that
way.
either.
Eric,
I didn't say that either, Arif. You're right.
Yeah, he's saying it can certainly help you in certain ways. He's just not
it's not
relying
going to
on it to make
outperform
the
him.
final decision,
So
right?
it's not going to outperform, like as you said. It's not going to. You don't believe AI is going to outperform you with regards to selecting domains. Josh says the
Yeah,
same.
I don't.
So
So
we'll
I don't
see.
use AI myself right now,
We'll
but
see if
I know it certainly
Summit,
could help me in certain
how do you
things.
feel about it? Do you think AI is going to be able to outperform domain investors with with what they do? Basically, it's just like stock pickers or gamblers.
Let me be very clear, by the way. I think that AI would outperform 99% of domain investors, but not me.
Yes. See, that's the thing. People don't realize in domains, like AI could certainly find you lots of good domains, right? But the thing, as a domain investor, good domains are not good enough to be profitable in this industry. You have to find the stuff that people actually want and is going to sell at a nice profit. And sometimes a good domain that your friend is going to buy for $10 for his business, it's fine. It's a good domain for that person. But like for us, we need to buy domains that when we flip at such a high multiple at a certain sell-through rate that we're profitable. And that's not good. Domains are not good enough for that, right? Could AI be good enough at one day? I think so. Maybe. Like again, I haven't fully explored it, but at the same time, the results aren't there yet, right? It's so yes, it's a tool. Can use it to help pre-price your stuff. I mean, look, I use Estabot. Estabot is a great tool for me, but do I rely on it for individual pricing, either when I buy or when I sell? No. But do I rely on it sometimes to, if I'm too lazy to go through 50,000 domains, do I use it as part of my pre-scoring to get 50,000 to 5,000 names? Yeah, and it's like, it's not going to be perfect. Same thing as AI, it's not going to be perfect, but it certainly can help you. And as Josh says, I'm quite sure that AI would be better than most people coming into the industry, or even people who are not that experienced. But once you have a certain skill set, what your sales at what price points, what probabilities. That's very hard, I think, for an AI to grasp, especially when you're, for me particularly, because I buy those two-word.coms that, there's a synergy there, but that synergy is like, okay, it's something that human understands, that exactly that. The reason why other people don't find them and I get them cheap is specifically because people, their current algorithms, whether it be AI or just the way they score their stuff or filter through stuff, it's not there yet. And it's fine. Like, that's great. To me, it's like, that's how I make my money. Anyway, sorry for that. Josh, go ahead.
We have Samit joining us. I want to hear what Samit has to say. Samit, welcome. That's Media Wizard for those who don't know. Samit, are you there?
Yep.
Yeah, what are your comments on this hot topic?
So, yeah, Josh is probably right. He has an angle, as do most of these new guys, it's, Nikhil and Tony names, Shweta. They have an angle which is going to be tough for AI to figure out just yet. Maybe another year, 2 years. Who knows? I just wanted to refer to Raghu's. I'm so excited. In 2 weeks, I'm going to let a bot which I barely understand take over my computer and my registrar accounts. Boss, that is wrong on so many fucking levels. It's not even funny. You don't understand what the bot does. You have no bloody security systems in place, and you want to give a piece of unverified software access to your registrar accounts. I don't think the story is going to end too well. Would use AI. I mean,
Well, you spend a lot of time talking to Raghu, so you're allowed to say that to him. I want to hear, Amar, thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts on this subject, AI? I know you have some. Thanks for being here.
I don't think Amar's on stage, dude.
Yeah, I see him on stage, but it took me like 4 or 5 tries to get back up on stage. Actually, when I saw your invitation, I left and came back 3 times before I was actually on stage. So
Now he is.
Yo.
Hey, sorry. I was just, what I was saying was, or what I wanted to say was, I think Josh's point is that AI, at least at this point, cannot beat him or a lot of us who've been doing this for a long time because it doesn't have our intuition, and our intuition has been built based on years and years and years of experience, and that is what our unfair advantage is over the AI. But AI is very useful, and Josh said he's been using it for the analysis. And AI has been around, for a long time. Drop catch, those guys. I mean, really, what they're not looking at those names individually themselves. They are using machine learning and AI in one sense or another to analyze all the names that are dropping. And the computers, their algorithms are deciding what to bid on. So isn't that AI? And I think we would all agree that they are a successful business, right? But they're a different business and a different business model than what Josh does or what I do. And so that, I think, is an important distinction that people aren't really, I think, addressing here.
And if we don't see someone use it and is successful at it and documents it, um, we're certainly not going to, believe it. We're going to need to see it. So I think it's ahead of us. And I'm thinking more the financial markets. Can AI outperform professional money managers? Can AI outperform professional domain investors? So I'm a believer that it can. Is it doing it today? Well, no one's saying it's doing it. I believe it probably could do it right today. Now that's what I believe.
But
But
outperform in what sense, right? So I think it depends on the business model. It depends on your model and your individual model whether it can outperform you or not, right? Like I guarantee you, it's not going to find some of those same opportunities that Josh is finding, right? And like I said, it's because of intuition. AI is not based on intuition. It's based, at least my understanding, it's based on, um, I guess, algorithms, right? Which there's just something different there that a human intuition has that an algorithm does not have. Now, our intuition may be based on our own, quote unquote algorithms, but it's different. It's a gut feeling, and I don't think AI has a gut feeling yet.
Yeah, maybe I can give this example, and I wrote a post on X today that's related. Is that like this time last year, and I was pretty vocal about this. If I had asked ChatGPT, what is your general outlook on Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin bullish? Should I invest in Bitcoin? It would say, yes, Bitcoin is bullish. Bitcoin is going up. You know, it would analyze the general consensus at the time based on all the content that it could find, and it would give you it would essentially give you the answer that you wanted to hear in a lot of cases. And I test that theory out a lot, um, particularly with other markets that I'm interested in. But you know, it doesn't, like Amar says, it doesn't have the intuition to look at other variable factors that you almost like nobody else is necessarily thinking about, that you believe should like impact that market. Um, like, for me, I talked about how I felt that, the attention from crypto had shifted massively to AI. I didn't think that was a positive thing. I talked a bunch about how I thought that like Michael Saylor was really like a net negative for Bitcoin when everyone else is like thinking that he's like the Bitcoin savior. I'm pretty sure that's like that's still a developing story, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And these are like intuitive things that most like the general public for the most part probably don't agree with. Even and chat gpt or any kind of AI, in my opinion, is just not capable of thinking that deep. You talk about, and I think that's why deep is such an important keyword, and why it's so widely adopted in the AI space, because that is like the holy grail of figuring out of AI becoming a monstrous beast, is if it can really get deep, if it can really gain some sort of intuition, as opposed to what it is today is an expert analyzer. um it takes in everything that is out there, all the data, all the content that exists publicly, and reaches not pretty quickly pretty good conclusions. But the alpha is not what's out in public, and it's not the content that you can consume every day. It's an accumulation of real world experience and intuition.
Well, you make some great
Yeah,
points, Josh. Hold on, if I just wanted to say why I'm thinking of it, because I'm not thinking of you competing. I'm specifically thinking of Josh here competing with the AI. I'm thinking of you, you know, all those things that aren't public. Those are the things that you can add to the AI. Even mentioning to your AI agent, you're not being as intuitive as I am. You're telling your agent as though he's a partner to you. So I don't look at it as you're competing with them. I'm thinking you're going to be helping that AI agent know, here's alpha that I don't share with anyone. I'm only sharing with you. Now, of course, Sama brings up a good point that as soon as you start sharing things with AI, it's going to know, it's going to share it with other folks, and it's not going to be private. So, that's a concern in how you're going to be using AI and what agents, and how you're going to keep them private to your own data. But my point is, Josh, I'm thinking it's like when you hire a staff of people to work with you. They're not going to be able to do exactly what you do, but they're going to be able to, help speed up, help you row the boat. So with AI so powerful, and then you giving it, sharing your data, and then of course all the massive amounts of data that it already has on its own. So I'm not looking at it as you versus AI. I'm looking at it as you plus AI. How can that not be better than just you? And I mean, for any of us, not just you, but it's almost like it's such a, like we mentioned, it's a tool. So you're the one that's going to be using that tool. So it can
Yeah,
only,
yeah, no doubt,
yeah.
no doubt. By the way, I just note, I want to be very, very clear that AI is a very valuable tool uh, for anyone to use, and that's one of the reasons why we're in such a crazy hype cycle, because there it's one of the best tools that the world has ever seen.
I wonder,
yeah. I think
go ahead, Arif. Sorry.
I'm gonna
So
say
that's
like I
that's that's exactly what we were talking about, Josh. This is exactly what we're trying to say. Another way.
Okay, I'll finish what I'm going to say, but first, yeah, I think we're talking about. I think you were looking at a little bit more for like actual selection or valuing more specifically for individual names. I think it's kind of funny because I think Josh, myself, and Amar, we're all saying the same thing a little bit differently, and I think that's what it comes down to a little bit, right? Is that the way we do our selection and our pricing? There's such a gut check of so many factors of our life that come together to make that gut check, right? Like, and it's something that I think right now AI can't simulate or duplicate, right? In terms of selection, right? Certainly the obvious ones it can't, right? It's certainly better than anything that was available 10, 20 years ago. I'll grant you that. But really the ultimate gut check that we always, those of us who are, profitable domainers that we do, it's a hodgepodge of our life experiences, of what we've learned in our lifetime. The word that Atmar used was really, really good, is intuition, right? And human intuition is something that I don't think AI is quite there yet. Maybe in 20 years, who knows, right? But Josh said that we're deep. It's not quite deep enough yet that I'd be confident that would find the stuff, all the stuff that I would find. Would it find some of it? Yes. Is it going to help other people find names that previously I found only myself, and I was able to get a closeout because it fell through the cracks? I will certainly be losing some of those, right? But at the same time, it's not going to find everything, sorry, and that's the difference maker. And it's just the fact that it's hard for us to express what it is exactly why AI is not quite there yet, because it won't be able to. There's nothing for it to build off of our really gut checks, our intuition.
I'm seeing requests from Darcy and Mike Gaffney, and I keep accepting and also sending out invitations. So I apologize if you're having trouble getting on stage. Josh, if you see, maybe it'll work.
What they can try and do is leave the room and come back. And when they come back, oftentimes they'll give the choice of coming back as listener and speaker if you already invited them. Today was really bad for me to get on. It took me like 4 or 5 tries.
There's Darcy, and I just approved Mike. But Darcy, nice to have you up here. What's going on?
Yeah, I'd just say that I've said this a few times in Josh's Discord that I don't think if you're a beginner to domaining, you should be using AI, because it's just going to confuse you to buy names that you shouldn't be buying by making you think they're good when they're not good. And as for AI in the future, I think that yes, it's going to be better than all of us, but I don't know if we're going to get access to those models. Like, we're going to have models that are going to be building weapons for war and capable of things like that. I don't think we're going to get access to that. Like, I don't know if anyone watched the documentary The Thinking Game, where they're using AI to like solve protein folding, which is like one of the most like complex problems there is. Like, that's the type of like capability we're going to be competing against.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that as well. I definitely agree with that. I don't think we know what the boundaries are to AI at this point. So, I mean, I think that Darcy's analysis is pretty good.
And then one more thing is that if agents take off, then you're probably going to get to a point where you're like, go buy the best name, and the agent will go do it. And then if your investing agent is like doing that, they're obviously going to be picking the best names for those agents to buy as well. But again, like I just don't I don't think we can underestimate what AI will be able to do in the future. I think it'll think at a higher level than any of us. It'll be able to game the entire stock market. But I don't think we're like regular people are gonna have that ability.
But it's a bit like quantum computing, right? Quantum computing can outperform regular computing like drastically by levels that we can't even comprehend in certain things, right? And there's other certain things where a regular computer will beat it hands down. And it's the same thing with AI, right? There's certain things that it can help us with, that it can outperform us with, and yeah, over time it will get better, right? So to answer that question today versus in 20 years from now, it's going to be a different answer, right? Will it be everything? No, but it certainly will get much, much, much better. But I think today, I would take Josh's or Amar's opinion on a domain or a pricing before AI, like 99% of the time, right?
It's just though. Like, I think it's a tool, but please, if you're new to domaining, don't get on. Like I've seen this in Josh's Discord. People are just talking to AI, and they think they have a leg up, and they're registering or buying names that are gonna sell, and they're just not good names.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like people who came in and they get a subscription for Estabot, and they go, oh, well, Estabot says it's worth this, so it has to be worth this, or GoDaddy Value says it's worth this, so it has to be worth that. And the reality is that we all know there's nothing further from the truth, right? And once you learn, okay, you figure it out, and yeah, you could use these numbers as tools. Like you just if you only have time to look through for 10 minutes in a day, then yeah, get the ones with the highest Estabot, because the tendency for that to be correct is true, right? But will it be always true? No. Should you use it for individual decision making on individual domains? No, right? But there's something to be said that AI certainly is better than, let's say, Estabot 10 years ago. That yes, but at the same time, is it quite there yet? Yeah, I think your warning is very justified, because that's the trap a lot of newcomers come in. They see something that looks like an authority, which case is like Estabot or AI or whatever it is, and it thinks that the authority is going to be right, and it just simply isn't.
Can't get Mike Gaffney up here. I just can't make it through the door. Mike, well, please try again. Wanted to hear what you had to say. He's got 25,000 names, and I'm curious how he's using AI. Josh, when it comes to selling using AI. I mentioned it seems like the simple thing is to say, hey, can you find me 10 people that may want this domain name, and you put it in, and please write me a concise professional email that I can send to the CTO or CMO or CEO, whatever. Those seem like the standard or basic ways to use AI when trying to help a name. I'm thinking more, hopefully, there's going to be agents that just flat out know, take it from there. And, it's easy to say we're not there yet, but how do you see AI helping sell domain names as, the total opposite from purchasing, but selling the names?
Yeah, I think all of the tools that you use today for researching and outbounding essentially will just get combined into some sort of chat module, right? Where you can just say, hey, find me a list of possible end users, like you say, for this name, and it provides you a list and say, okay, refine it a little further to companies that have done, X amount in annual revenue, and then you maybe say, okay, now who are the decision makers in that company? Boom, it gives you all of those, and then you probably then say, you could probably do this today actually, and then probably say, what are their email addresses, and it will even tell you what it thinks those email addresses are, and you probably get phone numbers. I mean, I would say that if you're, I don't do outbound, but I say if you're not, for the people that are, I would assume that they're already using it to outbound.
Yeah, and Mike, I see we got Mike Gaffney and Mark up here, and I know Mark's AI expert. Mike, let's go to you first. Nice to have you. Thanks for joining us. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm having some trouble with my microphone, but yeah, good to see everybody. This AI stuff is the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my career. Everybody's really, it's interesting to listen to you guys because we're all using it in a slightly different way, but we're all seeing where it's all headed. And it's the best tool that we have. It's not going to do our thinking for us. I heard Josh straight on that it was going to be very valuable, but it's still not going to replace the human thinking and the human necessity. We're using it in a little different way from you guys. We have a number of domains that we obviously haven't sold, and we're taking a lot of them and using AI just to develop websites. I put up 3 websites with my own 2 hands. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal what you can do with this stuff. We have almost 300 websites that we actively are maintaining for ourselves that we've developed from our domains. And we're now jumping back into the affiliate marketing. We sold $1,000 worth of kayak trips yesterday on MauiVisitorsGuide.com. I've never been to Hawaii. I don't know much about Maui, but AI helped me kind of ramp up and go light speed to understand that market a little bit and to sell something to somebody that, previously we didn't even know Maui Visitors Guide existed. Well, yeah, we did. I bought that site from Brieger and Bruce. And but anyway, we're putting up stuff left and right on Replit. Replit has become our whole new platform. I've been able to learn it, 66 years old. I can easily put up content. I can change the content. I can solicit advertisers with it. And it's actually increased our visibility substantially because of these. We've created our own little walled garden of our own little geo service, websites that all cross-pollinate each other. And it's helping us to just be more visible and to teach people about the value of domains, because the one thing that I'm noticing is I'm going to these different conferences, whether they be for the ICA or NamesCon or the publishers, magazine publishers groups that I attend, is that while it appears there's going to be a 12 to maybe 24 month period that we can all make something of this. And then I don't think anybody knows where the world's going to be after that. And by that, I mean, all the information is going to be homogenized. The obviously search engine optimization has kind of gone out the window for websites. Now the new buzzword is answer engine optimization. And the way you get answer engine optimization is to put up the top list, the best list of things in a particular category. And these AI agents are learning to quote you if you have a best list. If, who's the best personal injury attorney in San Antonio? Well, if I've got a best list of personal injury attorneys at sanantoniolawyers.com, then we will become part of their learning database. You're going to find a lot of magazines that are going to be putting out a lot of the best of stuff now for that exact reason. So I encourage people to look at some of your names as even an intermediate development opportunity, just to create exposure and links to your domain for sale for portfolios, because that's really added to our sales. Just since the beginning of the year, we've sold about a dozen domain names because people have found us because of our cross-connected websites. Like I said, I can't be more excited about anything I've ever seen in my entire career in banking and publishing and digital design and everything. This is our time, guys, and it's exciting, and we're going to make shit happen. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mike. And I know you mentioned that basically the excitement back in September when I saw you in Las Vegas. You've been mentioning it at the ICA event, but I mean, so it's and we know it is evolving. I mean, basically the AI. I don't think we're going to need to wait the 20 years because things happen so fast, but I think we see progress, daily, monthly. So by this time next year, I think for us domain investors, those who've really used AI tools are going to, we're seeing the big companies from Adam and Josh is creating one now. Josh, you said that's called Magic Search, what you're working on, correct? Magic Search? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool name. All right. I mean, we're seeing, not just individuals, but companies putting resources behind this. And this is going to certainly benefit us domain investors. I'm excited about it. Mark, what's your thoughts on the conversation we're having, AI? I mean, this is in your wheelhouse, as they say.
I've been doing a lot with AI, and especially since October and beyond, I've been running in every direction. A lot of it I haven't talked about, but we're seeing a lot of it, of what's coming out with OpenClaw and all of the others. So I've got some nice gems I'll be dropping on my LinkedIn in the next day, or maybe even today. But to get back to the domain idea, I was I talked to someone recently that pitched me a domain, and I put together. So I have a swarm of AI agents. You can kind of follow what I'm doing in the next post or whatever. But I really expected it to give me a positive response, but it was going to be more interesting to see how it thinks through it, because it tells you how it's thinking and what it's saying, and so forth. But it was interesting to see that it actually said, "Do not buy this." Uh, I was just, it's the first time, all the positivity on things. And when I let it loose, uh, it knew a lot about the business models I was going after and so forth. And yeah, I thought it would be agreeable. It was just cool to see that for a change. But there's so much more. I'm definitely on the AI side of things because I can see a lot of what's going on, and I build. You know, to It's really cool what you're doing, Mike, because I've been right there making 5 sites a day since November-ish. I took a little break to investigate a few things, but now I'm going to go an even faster rate. Yeah.
Mark, hey, first of all, hi, both of you, Mike and Mark. You're the first two people I met live in the main world. But anyways, what was the reason it told you not to buy the domain? Did it give a reason, or did you ask it for the reason?
Oh, it gave a lot of reasons, but I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to The general gist, it didn't fit into the model of what we were doing. And that was pretty much it. Better alternatives we already had.
You were asking for a specific project as opposed to an investable domain type of thing.
Not a specific project. There's a lot that it knows about what we're doing, and it'll make more sense when I talk about it later. But I'll see if I can get that answer for you, and I'll send it over to you. Sorry.
All good. Thanks.
It's just I wanted to make the point that a lot of people say, you go to ChatGPT, it's going to tell you everything positive, and you got it, blah blah blah. It didn't do that here, and I'm working with not one model. I'm working with like 10 different models, and they work interchangeably.
Have you ever noticed that the more polite you are to your AI agent, the nicer and the more comprehensive the data is? I found that interesting. If you compliment it occasionally, it actually responds positively back. That sounds silly, but I mean, it actually, we actually yesterday we did a site for Fort Worth, and it did a phenomenal job of a comprehensive list of tourist attractions, except for one that was in San Antonio, and I just happened to know that, and it was incorrect, and it kept telling me that everything was exactly as it should be, and I had to say, you know what, you're having a hard day. I know you're stressed, but you're wrong. And it came back going, I apologize. You are correct. And it's silly, but the more we act like humans to these non-humans, the more interesting it becomes with the content that it gives us back. But back to the original point, Josh, it still requires a human element and a brain to say, hey, I picked out something that you found that is not accurate. Go back and fix this. In fact, that's one of the biggest prompts we give once we finish a website is we say, have you provided all of this information that is authentic? And it will actually respond, you know what? No, there are some things that we made up. There are some things that are not accurate. Let me go back and verify this phone number or verify this address. And so it still takes hand holding, but boy, it's moving fast. And for anybody that hasn't looked at Manus, that's another interesting one that Facebook just bought. I asked it for a list of boutiques. I found a domain I renewed, SanAntonioBoutiques.com. I don't know what I was going to do with it. But I asked for a list of 20 boutiques in San Antonio. In 30 seconds, it gave me a complete list of boutiques and then proceeded to build the whole website. And I had an entire website with a directory within 30 minutes. All I had to do was hit publish. And it was ready to roll. I don't know where that's going, but it was doing things I didn't even ask for. So that part is a little scary.
Yeah, and that's where I think AI is a little bit more optimal, right? Because you're giving it specific things, and it's like even for like in the case of your domains, like your portfolio is geo service mostly, right? And that's very specific and something can grasp. Whereas let's say I have a domain like let's say Red Hexagon. Well, what the hell is AI going to do that? Could do a lot of things, but is it, that's where, the answer for some of these questions we're asking is going to be different depending on who it is and the type of portfolio, because like what can be really helpful to you might not really be, give me what the results I need. And that's a good thing. Again, it's a good thing about this business is that there's room for everybody. And there's, certain things that work for some of us and certain things that work for the others. And thankfully, each of us can find our own niche and hopefully make a profit. And so good hearing your voice, Mike.
Yeah, you too, buddy. But I tell you what, as this all homogenizes over the next couple of years, I think the value of our domain names is the domain name is what's going to make all of this content really stand out. I think the brand is going to become more valuable than ever. And what I like hearing recently is everybody talking about how do we reach out to the public to educate, because that's what we all need to do. Is maybe we need to change mentioning that we have domain names and mentioning that we're selling brands, mentioning that we're selling businesses in a box. I don't know what the new buzzword needs to be, but we need to connect with the public to teach them the value of why they should pay for a good domain name, i.e. brand, i.e. business in a box, because that's what they are. They're more than just an internet.
Yeah, I mean, most people when they want to start online business, the biggest sort of resistance was, okay, the technical side, right? So in that sense, AI is going to really be helpful to us because, it's for sure building a website with AI is going to be much easier than building a website 20 years ago, right? And so that's one of, obviously it's not the only thing. That's one element that, was a resistance to people buying our names that now is going to be less of a resistance. So yeah, hopefully it'll be easier for people to start their websites and their businesses. Is it everything? No, but I think that's one thing that's there. And as you said, education for me, that's always been the thing. Is visibility of our domains and education to the end user. And our biggest problem in this industry is that the window of opportunity to educate someone is very narrow because people don't, they're not looking for domain education at a normal point in their life. They're looking for domain education when they're ready to start their startup and their business, right? So, like, if we go to somebody 3 years before they start their startup, they're just not even going to absorb our information. So that window is very narrow. That's why it's difficult in this industry. But again, there are things we can do, as a group, but also the big players like VeriSign actually, put an advertising budget and explain the value of a good domain name. That could go a long way, but it's still tough for us.
Well,
I'm up for the challenge.
yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. We're gonna be here for 15 more minutes. I got several more topics, but Josh, before I move on, any topic come to mind that we haven't touched on in the last few weeks that you want to touch on? I mean, domain investing topic or anything come to mind?
No, not off the top of my head, dude. No.
Okay, we got.
I think we've had good discussion though today.
Yeah, and
Good job leading the conversation.
no
my
one
man.
thinks, and no one's gonna pinch out just a one snippet. We know everything needs to be taken in context. And Josh, I've listened to you start to finish in a lot of conversations. So don't think anybody you put me and Ragu in the same boat. Us kind of guys who pick out snippet. But before I get to the succession planning,
I don't put you and Ragu in the same boat. All right.
Yeah, about death. I know we all agree on death. We're all going to die. About succession, but I did want to bring up. Mike was talking about the how the public sees domain investors and domain names in general. And I know Rick Schwartz had put out a post, and I just can't understand it. And Rick would probably say, because you're an idiot, Todd. But he basically said, no commentary. I want you to repost this because he really wants to get the word out about domain names to the general public. He thinks it's time. He thinks he's got the right message. I couldn't figure out the message. I've always thought the message we need to put out is, if you're interested in a domain name, please visit that domain name, because I always felt like that's something we didn't do from the start. And if we would have got people to understand, go to that domain name, buy direct, we could have cut out, we could have bypassed a lot of these marketplaces and saved a lot in commission and let people know it is normal to visit the domain name to purchase the domain name, not just go through a registrar path. So that's where I think a message that I would like. But I think Rick said something about wanting to make it more of, he said in 30 years, this is from his post, I've never seen domain investors put out a coherent and amplified message designed to break out and shake things up. This is the moment, changing the context from inventory to income producing collectibles will change the destiny of everyone reading this. And that was sort of the message, but I just couldn't get it. Did you see that post, Josh? Amar, did you see it? Can anybody decipher? What do you think is the interpretation, or what is Rick trying to do here?
No comment.
Okay, so no comment from Josh. Amar, did you see that post from Rick? And what is that? What is the message?
I didn't see that post from Rick, but Rick has a different way of doing things than the rest of us, or many of us, and it's his way has been incredibly successful for him, but it doesn't mean that his way is going to work for everybody. He just also has different kind of assets and all that, but his point, I think, a lot of times is we have the leverage. We, as the domain owner, have the leverage. And I think it really, his biggest, or one of his biggest issues is when we kind of give away our leverage, right? And we come from a position of weakness, and I think that that's kind of what a lot of his messaging is about. And I didn't see that particular post, but I'm sure the genesis of it comes from something from that about we have the leverage, we have the strength, we have what they want, so let's not cheapen it.
Hey, Todd, I know which where he's heading to, and he has a big yacht. Okay, and you're not welcome there to go to his boat. So go fuck yourself. You're not in my boat anymore. Okay, Todd. I know exactly what Rick is trying to do, and
Some people are welcome on his boat,
yeah.
Ragu. And I wanted to say, I just wanted to comment quickly. I think Amar's right. Rick has always said, and we all agree with this: don't sell yourself short. And he's focused on domain investing. So I love that message. Don't sell yourself short when it comes to these assets. Now I like that. That really across any field you're an expert in. Have confidence. Don't the good thing about you bring up the boat, that's the greatest negotiating tool all the time. When people know you got a boat, you're like, listen, I just think I'm going to go back out on my boat. And then they think, fuck, I guess the point is if you can walk away from a deal. So I've always I critique Rick. I feel like I'm his age. I did. I'm allowed to. He was talking about a post the other day of how old he is, and he doesn't look his age. Yeah, I look good too. The point is, I feel like I'm an old guy like him. We're old salespeople. We used to go back to the office, and there's the big sales board, and I would be like, yeah, I'm competing against you out in the field. If we're selling vacuum cleaners, I'll see you here at the
And
end of the day. We'll see
yeah,
who
yeah,
sells those.
and
But
he claimed,
I love we're
he claimed with the
colleagues.
Betty. He claimed with the Betty, and this is the next 2000. Sorry, before 2000, like what we used to happen with the domain. So now the whole cycle start again, and he's very bullish about AI. If you read his notes before last 2 months, he's big time, depending and working with the AI. And I get to hear this with expert like Josh. I don't understand, man. Anyways, all good.
There is something to be said for. It's like when a stock's going up, I'm the one I like to buy once it's already broken through. So I don't mind that Rick, I think gets on the AI. Gets bullish on AI after a lot of people were already saying, of course, you're coming to the party late. It comes to the party when it finally gets going. But anyway, like I said, I love he's someone in the business, just like I consider, well, we got a lot of legends in this business. If you were at the ICA meetup, you see them. Amar's one of them. And I mean, that's somebody who has run businesses in this space and been a domain investor in this space, built relationships in this space for many, many years. So it is fun to say, yeah, that's why I asked him, what's your thought on this? But Rick's not around. I guess Ish said he's going to be on Ish's Saturday show in a few weeks out. Well, you know who's going to be? I'm going to be there. A lot of us, we want to hear from a lot of these guys. And there's a few that are no longer with us that I wish we could, hear from. But anyway, I love the personalities and the still big players in this business and the ones who are really trying to move this forward. I always bring up my partner, Chad Fokening in business, because these guys have been fighting for years to make this a recognized asset class. And that is so important. And finally, we benefit from it. Okay, about this succession planning, we're going to be here 10 more minutes. Darpin was saying at ICA there was, I guess, I don't know if it was a session or something about, they talked about, Mike Cyger put together a whole plan about, when you die, how you going to leave these names, who you going to leave them to, are they going to be able to handle it? Basically, what's your plan? Because it's happening now more and more. I mean, we hear guys on X too. I'm 75 years old. I don't want to. I want to. So Josh.
Todd.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank
Brad.
you.
Fuck, go ahead.
Thank you for letting me come up. And I think what was going on just before this conversation about educating the public or educating people about the domains, and when you brought up Rick, he's educating other investors and people that are in the risk business, But what I think the domainers need, the general population of us, we need education to the young entrepreneurs and already existing business people that don't have a deeper understanding about how valuable a .com or a valuable domain name is, and they go for lesser quality domains. So I think we need to educate the general public about it's not worth getting the lesser quality domains. You should get the premium domains and use them to get your story out to the world. Rick is going to the investors and high risk people, but the general domainer and domain investor doesn't have the quality of names like that, and we need to reach a broader demographic.
Yeah.
I want to add
Go
something.
ahead, Mark.
Kind of one of the observations I've been seeing with people creating so many sites and being able to do it, business mentality, entrepreneur, is for the first time able to realize their vision to like maybe 90%. The other 10 eats them. But domains more than ever, I think, are getting visible. They're, the next question they're running, okay, what can I put it on? And so I think what I see is like more of a demand for domains in general, and it starts that conversation um, rather than pushing it off and pushing. Well, I don't have something. I got to get thinking about it, or they're making those dreams come true. And so the distinguisher long term, and this is what my hypothesis is, that there's going to be a better demand for better names because that will be the distinguisher uh, between all these projects and being found and so forth. Um, it'll naturally gravitate towards it as people become better at business.
Forget that succession stuff right now. Josh, you're young. You probably don't even, think about that. And it is true. The younger you are, you really don't start, putting together wills and stuff like that. So we'll revisit that maybe. But I wanted to ask you about this Emma Stone video. Now that I think about it, and we're only going to be here for 5 more minutes. Pretty big thing, Squarespace. I guess it's going to be a Super Bowl ad. I don't know. But basically, Emma Stone's on there like trying to see is Emma Stone available. And it says, not available. Your name's not available. Unavailable. And she's freaking out. And then finally, I don't know. I know she owns the name because I went to the website. And then I hear the story that I guess the guys over at Grit had sold the name for the domain owner to Emma Stone or to Squarespace. But do you think that's an obvious help, having big companies place ads, for, but Squarespace, I don't know if they are part of the network where if you check a name through their registrar path, it shows, after Nick listings. I need to check on that. I'm going to do that while you talk about it, Josh. What do you think about that ad?
Sure. I mean, obviously, I've heard about the ad. There's a lot of talk about the ad. It's a good message. I think the miss here is that Squarespace and GoDaddy don't seem to be communicating much in regards to aftermarket. In regards to the aftermarket, and you're about to find out that Squarespace is not a part of the Afternic network, which is unfortunate because it has to be GoDaddy's number one target.
Do they actually go anywhere else, or their domains just got deleted? Expired domains, do you know?
You know, I'm pretty sure they just get deleted. Yeah.
Wow.
You're right. I did learn. So they're search one of my names. It's on Afternic Fast Transfer, and of course it doesn't show.
I mean, if I'm
It says unavailable.
spaceship, I'm going full force into trying to partner up with Squarespace because that would be a big deal in their quest to compete with Afternic.
Yeah, it's not that there's absolute always everything's gonna be quality, but the fact that people are buying the domains already with the intention of putting money towards building a business, that's going to probably skew the quality upwards. of the average domain that expires, I would think.
I'd like to see, I would like to have seen in that commercial, basically she searches her name and it says unavailable, and then she goes back and does it again, unavailable, and so on. Uh, and she just seems mad at the end. I can't recall how, it turns out to be positive. I need to look at the commercial again. But I would have liked to have
Yeah,
seen her.
that's what Adam said as well, by the way, is that he felt like the ending was just like a little weird. He was expecting some sort of like happy ending. You know what I mean?
Love those. Hey,
It's 2026. There's no more happiness. Come on, guys.
What I would like to have seen in the commercial is her checking her name and then knowing that she's got letterhead with her business on it, and then she checks that name, because we don't want a lot of individuals, first timers, watch a commercial like that and they're going to go and check their name. Should I get my name? It's telling me I need to get my name, and that's the least. I'd say almost the least used type of domain. Of course, it's nice to have your own name, but I was just thinking that we want people to be looking for, as domain investors, we want them to look for businesses and not just
But
simply searching.
that's a first step. Like, I mean, I think it's what the general audience understands, right? That people think that their name is value. So I could see that being a first step. Again, like, education within this industry is very difficult because the window of time that somebody's really looking for that education is very narrow compared to, like, many other products in a house or a car, whatever it is. People dream of their car all the time. These people dream of their ideal house all the time. But people don't dream of their domain until they dream of their business that they're ready to start. So yeah, they might, but they're not really going to educate themselves on it. And that's the difficult thing in our industry. But at the other end of it, it makes it also good for us because not too many people see the opportunity, and it makes easier for us to get domains at really cheap prices and flip them for really high prices when somebody actually wants them. So that's this thing also with Rick Schwartz's thing saying, okay, well, don't give it away too easy, but like, there's certain domains that are irreplaceable that you can shoot the moon on. But like, for most of the rest of us, typically have the bread and butter domains. It's a different thing, because if we shoot for the moon on all of them, well, most of those domains, there are alternatives in the lower price points, right? So you got to make sure you're in that price point where, yeah, your domain is the best option at that price point. And that's the difference really with what he's talking about. That's yeah, I can understand where it works for him. Obviously, he doesn't need any income from this business, and I'm curious how his lower 80% of his portfolio actually performs. Is it profitable or not? Like, obviously, because he can hold on and he doesn't need revenue, he can wait for that one sale, right? But it could be that for somebody else in the industry who's starting off, that one domain doesn't exist for them. They don't have that one domain that somebody's going to pay to the moon for, and they can't afford to price it so high that they can't pay the renewals on other stuff because they got to pay their bills and whatever it is. So anyways, it's not that what he's doing is wrong. It's just that it might not work for most people, I think.
Well, thanks. That's going to be a wrap for today. Appreciate Arif. Thanks for being here. And Mike G and Mark and Darcy. I mean, everybody, thanks for joining us. Samar, Samit, Raghu, thank you so much. And Brad, thanks for finally jumping up here too. Josh and I will be here next Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We got always a lot of domain investing topics. I'm really going to work hard to come up with some, specific, basically a lot of stuff just focused right on domain investing. There were some things we didn't touch on today. There were I think some key, what we called it, some root word analysis that I want to talk about, because I think it does, help when it comes out there. Okay, we're buying names as opposed to just buying on the aftermarket. I love to think, are there names still out there to register that we can make money off of? But that you got back up here, Josh, any final words for today?
Yeah, if you're not a member of the DNX Discord, come join us. We have plenty of good conversation. I'll report a new six-figure sale there at some point today. So if you don't join, you won't see it.
Very easy to join. They just go to your username, Josh, on X here, and they'll have a Discord link.
Yeah, just go to my profile. It's pinned, and you can join from that link. It's the pin post on my profile.
Fantastic. It's worth it, everybody. So we'll see you on the DNX Discord. Thanks for joining us here. We'll see you on the DNX show this time next Thursday. Finally, I want to say, of course, Tuesday I do the Domain Name Law Show. If you have any domain disputes or legal issues, or I don't care if you're a registry, registrar, or you're in this business and you need some legal help, reach out to me. I work with Jeff Newman at JJN Solutions and want to make sure that you get knowledgeable legal help that knows the domain industry inside and out. So that's for all of you guys listening on replay too. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day wherever you're at. Take care of yourself.